Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Before I Go podcast. By the time this episode airs, I will be more than 200 days into my journey of alcohol freedom. Yay me! It is worth mentioning that this also marks my first winter without alcohol, which means I am experiencing seasonal depression without alcohol. So, how am I feeling? I can't lie. Not great. Let me break this down. I did an entire bonus episode on seasonal affective disorder, SAD, and you can go back and listen to it, but I'll give you the highlights. When the weather turns colder and days get shorter, I become depressed. I have no motivation to do anything but eat and sleep. Last year, I gained close to 20 pounds and had to fight like hell to get back to normal. This year, I worked really hard to prepare myself for the oncoming depression. I'm being really consistent with my exercise routine, and I'm being much more careful with what I'm eating, so there has been no weight gain at all. I also don't drink anymore, so there's no excessive empty calories that I have to deal with. I'm also taking vitamin D, I'm praying and journaling and just trying to keep a positive outlook. However, even with all that, the blues still managed to get me. Last weekend we had a snowstorm and I was held captive in my home for 3 days. Not great for someone who's depressed. For the most part, I stayed in bed and watched movies. I had to force myself to shower. It was not cute. When I was able to drive, the first place I went was the gym, and that truly lifted my spirits. Hell, even shoveling the snow from my driveway was a mood lifter. Historically, when dealing with seasonal depression, I would self-medicate with a bottle of wine or two. Wine is no longer my go-to, and I'm reducing the amount of comfort food I consume, so I had to rely on other methods. A lot of prayer, a lot of meditation, a lot of movement, a lot of Netflix. 200 days of alcohol freedom is a huge milestone, and I can honestly say that I am not craving alcohol, but during this time of seasonal depression, I am thinking about it. I'm thinking about how I used to drink, and I'm remembering the experiences I had with alcohol. I'm specifically referring to the experiences that I would categorize as positive. I loved the experiences that I would have that included wine. Not so much the wine, but the experience around it, if that makes sense. I can clearly remember being at a winery and sitting outside at a picnic table with a nice bottle of wine, a charcuterie board, and enjoying the company of a gentleman and gazing at the beautiful view of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It was absolutely lovely. The experience included wine, but it wasn't about the wine. I can recall countless numbers of experiences like that, and it is those experiences that I miss. Going to wine tastings or going to a nice restaurant and scanning the wine list and choosing the perfect bottle and sharing it with someone special. Then March 2020 hit. The world shut down, and I was robbed of those experiences and left with just the wine. According to a September 2020 Rand Corporation study, alcohol consumption rose among adults over age 30 by 14% during the pandemic, with a 41% increase in women heavily drinking. I know that I spent close to $1,700 in 2020 at Total Wine, and I averaged about $60 per visit. And that doesn't include the occasional bottle that I would pick up at the grocery store. I don't know if that sounds excessive or not, but for me, it is, especially since I live alone and don't entertain. It was a problem for me, and that's why I stopped drinking. I tried to cut back and drink in moderation, but moderation did not work for me. It had to be all or nothing. Fast forward to the present, I'm seasonally depressed and completely sober. As I said, I don't miss the alcohol, but the depression is causing me to think more about the times when I did drink. For the record, it also causes me to think about a lot of things, like when I was in a relationship. And trust me, I think about it, but I don't want to go back there. Seasonal depression makes me want to hibernate. But since I'm not a grizzly bear and I have bills to pay, I continue to use the tools that I have to push through. My hope is to not just survive the season, but to thrive during it and come out in the springtime feeling great, feeling accomplished. I'm already doing better this year than I did last year, so that's a plus. When I go back and listen to the bonus episode I did on seasonal affective disorder, it makes me sad because of the state of mind that I was in. But it also gives me great pride because I can see how far I have come from that place. I did not deal with it very well. I allowed the symptoms to overtake me instead of fighting my way through. This year, I am standing firmly with both feet on the ground, with a clear head and a strong body, and I know that everything will be fine. If you struggle with seasonal affective disorder and you're feeling overwhelmed, you don't have to suffer in silence. Get the help that you need. And if you're not sure where to turn, you can always call the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration helpline at 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-4357. Well, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for listening. But before I go, let me share this with you from Linda Poindexter. One small crack does not mean that you are broken. It means that you were put to the test and you didn't fall apart. I'll see you next time.